Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2026 edition of the Roger Hale Chess Celebration. I'm pleased to be joined by FIDE Master Ojasva Singh. Welcome.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me again at Chess Castle, and pretty much excited to commentate for today's games.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited. We got a GM visiting, GM Brian Smith. So we're going to get to see a GM game in all the games, and he's playing, one of our biggest players in Minnesota, Dan Voje, who is a big organizer at the club, runs a lot of nights at the club, and I think has played probably the most rated games of chess in Minnesota, if I'm remembering that statistic correctly. Yep. So we have our most seasoned player against the visiting GM, so that's awesome that he got a chance to get a go at the GM, especially with the white pieces. So let's see how this is going down. All these games, by the way, are broadcast with a 15-minute delay. So,
All right, let's directly jump into the game, and I see there have been a couple of moves already. So it was Sicilian, e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. I guess we call this as well the Rosolimo, right? Against d6, it's definitely Rosolimo, but against knight c6, there is a sub variation, but okay, I don't know the names.
yeah, this is Rosolimo for sure.
Yeah, but okay, what's the sub variation? Not we don't know about that, but okay. Knight f6, knight c3, g6, short castles, bishop g7, rook e1, castles. Okay, this is pretty much the most conventional way to play. And
Wait,
yes.
but I thought knight c3 doesn't seem that conventional to me. I thought c3 d4 was the most.
Yeah, that's true. That's the most played one. But I feel that people are still opting for variations with knight c3 nowadays, just to catch the Sicilian guy off guard. And especially if I'm playing a GM, I would like to play something which is not so popular. Because if I'll be playing something popular, I definitely know that the Grandmaster would have much more knowledge than I do. So why not play something which might be less familiar, and I'll take my chances there. Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, well, I like to just do the most ultra positional principled thing possible all the time almost. So I'm a c3 d4 guy myself. I see that knight and I think of it as like a Joe London knight almost, like it's blocking my c-pawn, and I want to get my big center with c3 d4, but at the same time, so actually when I play knight c3, I'll play it usually as like a punishment, usually against like queen c7, because I think I'm going to get a tempo against queen c7 later. I don't like to play knight c3 just as my general system. I like to play it when black does something a little bit dubious.
Yeah, so basically you want that space, you want that center as white, and want to make full use of that extra first move, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I just want something evergreen that's, I can't get caught in my opponent's prep that easily because it's so positionally sound. Like,
True. I guess that should be the normal attitude as well. But I feel Dan has something in mind. Obviously, it might be his preparation. Something similar, maybe.
yeah, no, and I'm
Might
not.
have seen Brian's game.
Yeah, exactly. And there's tons of master games here, so it's clearly legitimate. That's just my, subjective opinion. But I definitely think this is objectively probably very good.
True. Okay. Bishop takes happened, pawn takes d3.
That's
And I
interesting.
remember a few of my colleagues playing this exact same structure as white. So that's why I'm a bit familiar, but okay, I'm not much aware about the exact ideas. I just know that, okay, most of the time this bishop on g7 is not a great piece, and white tends to play against this double pawn as well. The point is that, okay, white does not have any weakness at all. You cannot target e5 so easily, or maybe you cannot target it at all. Other than that, white does not have any weakness. White's pieces are flexible. Black has a bishop pair, but with that bishop on g7 being kind of dead, I don't think white has any problems. White can just jump with his pieces around, maybe get in some h4, h5. Yeah, just need to look for those bishop g4 ideas. Or maybe even just simple normal development would give white good enough position, right? Like, let's suppose if I'm white, I would just want to develop my c1 bishop to maybe e3, f4, or queen d2. Then I might exchange that, I might not exchange that. In either case, I feel I'm fine, especially with the pawn structure that I have. I don't have any weaknesses.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Rosslimo as a choice against the high rated player, and I've got mixed opinions because my initial reaction is it's a poor choice because Rosslimo is the type of opening where both sides have so many options constantly that it's pretty likely you're going to get out of prep quickly, and then a GM is going to outplay you with his better positional knowledge, right, when you're not in prep. But at the same time, it's like it's it's so positionally sound for white. It's like plus 0.7 or something, or plus 0.4 at least, right? Even in all these circumstances. So like, you also, if you play it in the right way, where you just take your 0.4 and sit on it and say do something, I've got a better position, but you need to play for a win because you're a grandmaster and I'm an expert. Black might take some unsound risks, but overall, I think, I'd kind of rather try to probably catch the GM in my prep in a narrower area than probably try to get a slightly bit better position and sit on it. But I feel like there is two strategies there. So I don't know. What do you think?
I get actually whatever you have said was completely logical, and that's the most systematic way to play chess. Like, get a simple sound position, no with not many complications. Especially when you are playing against your GM, let them take risks, and you might pounce upon it later on. That should be the normal strategy. But if we talk about this particular game, I feel Voje is well prepared here, right? Like, at least till here, I feel White has played almost all the best moves. If we talk about particularly this knight c3 system. And yeah, maybe let's move ahead and check what happened. So knight c7, knight e4. Yeah, and from here things changed. So generally, I see we have a couple of master games with h3 here. Maybe white wants to prevent bishop g4 and completely restrict these bishops. Maybe that is one way to play. I'm curious to see, like, black did play bishop g4.
Well, yeah, h3 makes sense to me because, e5, it's a pretty decent space advantage. So, you want to make black uncomfortable and not let him develop his third piece.
Yeah, also, as for me, I feel that if that f3 knight is not there, my d4 square is also kind of like it. It's possible that black might exploit that square. Like, if I'm black, I would want to play knight e6 next. And if you play c3, I will use this d3 pawn as a weakness. Like, I'll just get my rooks on d5, maybe double them up and keep my knight on e6 so that d4 won't be possible. That feels like a bigger problem to me rather than this e5 pawn. Yeah, that is another problem. But I feel at least that pawn is dependable. The square seems much more weak to me now suddenly. Also, black has less space, so if black would be able to exchange pieces, that is already positionally good for them. If you have less space, you exchange pieces. If you have more space, you keep pieces on board. That's normal principle that we use in routine chess. I guess if we consider both these factors, a4 should be an inaccuracy.
But you can't imagine the GM playing against an expert following that principle too closely, though, right? Because he wants to keep complications. You know.
Yeah, but basically, if white is making inaccuracies, the guy would try to exploit all those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, if you're allowing them to play bishop g4, they will play bishop g4, and they might get their pieces in, maybe with queen d5, knight e6, exploit your structure, exploit that e5 pawn, d4 square. Suddenly, they have more space.
Yeah, and if instead of knight g3 he played h3, I mean, he's pretty much signaling he's going to take the knight, right? Because you can't really retreat the bishop, so.
Yes, also in this particular position, if you'll go h3 here, the e5 pawn is weak, right? Can't I just take and take there?
Mm-hmm. See, I wasn't calculating anything at all, so that's the problem for a chess player. But I was just thinking logically about Black's willingness to part with his bishop here.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, because see, the bishop pair wasn't doing a great job if we talk about it as a pair, because again, it's all about this bishop. Like this is not performing any role. If this pawn was not here, maybe Black would try to preserve their bishops. But again, that c8 bishop also didn't have any great diagonal to play for. So bishop g4 and taking on f3 makes pure sense. As for taking this pawn, I'm not sure now, because I'm seeing some stuff. What happens if knight takes c5 is played as white? Doesn't look that bad.
What if bishop takes b2?
Yeah, like I'm glad to take that bishop. And also the c6 is weak, right? So that is definitely not a problem. Taking on b2. Maybe if bishop e5 is Black's idea, then they would also just retreat it back. And now this knight is hanging. They have to move it somewhere. Maybe back to e4. That is the only move that makes sense. And what should be the evaluation of this position? I think Black is still comfortable though.
Well, I mean, I definitely like my bishop better than when white had a pawn on e5, so.
Like, if I am Black, I would be thinking that suddenly my bishop has got an open diagonal. Maybe I have few squares to play upon.
Yeah, I feel like I fully equalized as Black.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think I would be sad. So yes, if h3 would have been played, then bishop takes f3 is what Black would opt for, surely. But okay, that is not what happened. So knight g3, queen d5, and then h3 happened. Okay, this looks a bit dubious to me already. Because why are you allowing this to happen? Like Black is definitely super happy there.
He said, I don't want those queens on the board. I don't want to get mated.
Yeah, that is how an amateur would think against a GM. Is that what you're saying?
That's just yeah, like he's thinking, I can draw this. It's only double pawns.
True, but like if I would be facing a loaded player, I would still be happy as Black. Because even I know that I would outplay them. So that is how I would think.
Yeah, as a FIDE master, you can outplay it. GM probably definitely will. Yeah,
no, it's not just about a GM. It's like I'm talking about if I'm playing a weaker opponent and if I have this much structural advantage, I would be happy to play this position.
Well, if you think about it, GMs really make their money in the end games. That's where they outplay peers of similar skill. So, you know, I'm not sure going into a technical endgame that's slightly worse is gonna work out, but we'll see.
Yeah, because actually that's the exact same strategy that I use in my games if I'm playing against a low-rated player. I would just try to keep the position sane as long as possible, and let's say if I feel that I can transpose the position into an end game wherein I have even just a slight edge and I can just push it lifelong, I'm always pretty much confident that I would convert it, and they would make even more mistakes under that pressure. And that has almost always worked out for me. Like, I don't remember any single instance where someone held up their own and drew that position wherein they were slightly worse. Because if I am the heritage, if I am the stronger player, maybe I would have slightly, at least slightly more knowledge about that particular position. And if I'm already slightly better, or if I have an edge, then I would be able to grind that. And if you're talking about a grandmaster, obviously they would squeeze water out of a stone, right?
I feel like the whole player base is getting better though, so that's becoming a very valuable skill, squeezing water from stone, right? And just building slight advantages till you win, with good positional chess, because you just can't rely on low rated players hanging a piece like you used to.
Right, got it. It's okay. King G2 was played, and oh, knight d4, and oh, white's actually done, right? Like, there's no way you can save that pawn. Basically, you just cannot defend that c2 square. That's the main problem.
Makes sense.
So, okay. Rook e4 happened, and black already won a pawn, and the other pawn is under fire.
Now d3 is super weak, because earlier you don't even want to play c3 because it'll make d3 backwards, but now it's just backwards anyways.
Yeah, true. You don't even have that c pawn. And I guess we didn't get any more moves after that, and I feel there's a problem with the broadcast.
Yeah, potentially. Or he could have resigned. Never know.
Okay, maybe, but I just see
I don't think so,
zeros on clocks from both the sides. Yes, even I don't think that.
Some DGT, so yeah, well, let's try another board. We'll see if more moves come through. Or
yes, let's move to board number 2, and I see it's match between David Shebert, if I am pronouncing it correctly, and it's Warren single.
Perfect.
And
we got
oh my god,
the orangutan, the Polish. Not even Magnus could make this work, so we'll see if David can.
it's like you're underestimating your opponent completely, right?
There used to be a main in the club who played b4 every game, Andrew McIntyre, who I think he switched to b3 knight f3 now, so I'm not totally sure on that, but
is that
and my childhood coach played 1b4 every game too. He was about 1650.
Oh my god, like, I have never played before. I don't touch that pawn, and I haven't even faced that, like, even in any online game, if I remember correctly. Okay, b4 c6. Okay, this is already
this is
completely out of the opening. What should I say? I don't even know if I should use the word theory or if I should use the word book.
There's some trap here. I don't know the trap, but I know that c6 is a way to get a trap line.
Oh my god, you're much more knowledgeable in this than me, and I guess I just
don't
have any idea at all.
Well, it's because I'm low rated, so we have to face all this stuff all the time. You guys, this is what low rated players do. They just, they pick some club weapon and they lean into it. And so my blitz opponents play this type of stuff all the time.
Okay, let's see what happened. Knight f3, knight f6, bishop b2, d5. Now this is transposing to some conventional variation. If a3, c4, d4 comes in, it's already good.
It usually does, because that's the other thing, is no one plays the ultra critical variations against these sidelines. So unless they play it every game, right, and then they come with prep. So it's not really. If you play b4 once in a blue moon, that's fine. If you play it every game, it's probably asking for disaster.
Yeah, right. Right, makes sense. C4 happened, knight d7, c takes, bishop
We get,
e2. All right.
we got a strong chat, couple national masters, Jordan Tim and Jonathan. So nice to see we got a strong audience.
Yes, that's good news for today. Maybe I'll also drop and high.
Yeah,
And
we
it
got,
would make things even.
look at that, we got 5 highs.
Yeah.
High five.
Yeah, true. We got a high five in the chat. It's okay. Yeah, finally e6. Like generally people tend to play first move e6 or e5 against one b4, right? Here it's move number 7. Not move number 5 though. Okay. Queen
I think
b3 happened. Mhm.
I'm not like super booked up or anything. I think I just play like d5 though. I just play principal chess. I play for at some point try to play for like f6 maybe in a smart moment just to blunt that bishop I know that's coming.
Oh,
If it makes
yeah,
sense.
makes sense.
If it makes sense in the position. But I just try to get a positional little, let me get d5, f6, e5 in if I can, and I'll just get this huge center. And their bishop will be stupid looking. I mean, it doesn't always work out that way, I guess, but...
No, but you just need to worry about, let's say, if you'll play f6 and white plays d4. So both sides would have problems, right? Like, okay, white's b2 bishop is passive, but at the same time, your pawn on e6, f6 looks awkward if you're not able to get in e5 properly. Secondly, as white, I think white would be able to exchange that dark squared bishop with b5, bishop a3. So they would solve their problems, but as black, it would be difficult to solve that f6, e6 problem, right? That is how I would think about it. Not sure if I'm thinking.
No, I gotta brush up on my anti-Polish strategy. So, not saying what I like to do is but if it all works out and I get e5 in, because also if you think about it, a lot of players who do strategies like this are pretty passive as white. So it's not like they just want to get a system set up themselves. So a lot of times they'll just let you take the center.
True. That's right.
And if they're going to allow me to do that, I'll just be like, thank you. I'll play with the big center as black. That sounds like a decent game.
Yeah, like if it happens on the board, then obviously black is more than happy. Like that's like a dream position, right? If you have a pawn on f6, e5, you have full control of the center, so much space, and white did not even strike in at any point, then okay. I guess overjoyed would be the right word. Not happy, right? So, okay, knight c3, short castles, h3, bishop h5, short castles, queen e7, a3. I feel black actually wants to get an e5 somehow, but that d5 pawn is getting weak again and again. Though I would still be thinking about that move if I'll tell you about that honestly. Like I'll try to get an e5 somehow. Rook e1 happened, bishop b8, okay. That is one typical way to keep your bishop. d4, so yeah. I feel white would be expanding with a4, b5 as well later on, because that's the only way to get this bishop into game. Knight e8 happened, okay, focusing towards that c4 square, I believe. Knight d6, knight b6, knight c4, plant your knight there, and black is actually doing really good here.
Let me know what you think of this too.
I actually like that knight e8 move.
Yeah, question for you about d4, right? Because I feel like a lot of times you see a move like that and you're just like, well, yeah, I'm blocking my own bishop. But yeah, like you said, you could potentially shift it to the other diagonal. You could have that as a long-term plan. But I also feel like sometimes maybe you also can just have a plan to play knight e5 in the right circumstances, and that bishop can exert pressure through the pawn. I'm not sure it applies to this position, but I feel like I've seen Queen's Indian positions from the black side where that's kind of their idea. You know, they're just going to play knight e4 at the right moment, and bishop e7 is actually useful, even though it's staring at a pawn, because it's, you know, exerting pressure on e4 still.
Yeah, I get your point. I get your point completely. And actually, that might also work in this particular position as well. The point is always to see, as white, if I have a pawn on e5, that would give me some extra space, and that particular space would be used for attacking this particular king. As for black, pawn on e4, and for white, pawn on e5, these pawns are actually attacking prospects. So yes, if you have a bishop behind that, it is actually good. And there's one more point to add. For example, in this position, if at some point knight e5 happens, captures, this d4 square also gets vacant. So your bishop can always be planted to that particular square. And it's not always really bad that, okay, it's restricted by its own pawns. It might be playing some good role as well and exerting pressure, as you said, with the help of that particular pawn. And nobody likes that pawn on e5. Or let's say if we are white, then nobody likes that pawn on e4, especially when your opponent is trying to attack on the king side. So yeah, whatever you said completely makes sense. And that is also how a few players play. But okay, let's see what happened in this particular game and how this went through. Okay, so 95 was out of question here, and they just played 92 directly. Captures, and okay, so this is the present position that we have on board. I feel knight b6 is logical. Just get a knight b6, knight c4, and black. I would prefer black basically in this particular position. That is my take. What about you?
Yes. I mean, my reaction is it looks extremely drawish because it's ultra symmetrical and both sides look like they've equalized. So I'm just really going to favor the high rated player from either color.
Okay, so that is something that we're not talking about the position, but yeah, the practical factors of the match.
I feel like the position's totally equal to me. So it's...
like I would still differentiate it with the help of the bishops basically. Okay, f5 is something I did not even consider. But okay, I don't think it's really bad. The only thing that I feel is I don't want to give white any squares to play upon, especially when I have my own ideas as black. If I'm black, I would gladly play knight b6, one of my knights to c4. There's a big difference between this b8 bishop and this b2 bishop. And then I would maybe try to get in my queen to d6, force white to play some other weakening moves and maybe double up my rooks, and then I would get my knight out of the way. As white, I don't see any great plans. So yeah, might be equal if we check the engine evaluation, but I feel I would prefer black in this one.
Makes sense.
I'm not seeing any plans from white. That's the only reason.
Just mainly on the bishop quality. Or is that...
Yeah, true.
Okay. So yeah, slight...
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Slight plus for black. Which I imagine he's the low-rated player here. So gonna be tough for white then if trying to grind out a slightly worse position.
Yeah, true. That's right. Also, but okay. Not sure about f5. Yeah.
Could be the start of an implosion. Just allow your opponent to do what he wants. But I'm not sure even what's Marin's rating is though. Maybe he's actually... It's first round, so and David's a master, so I'm assuming he got pared down, but...
Right, but you never know, like, right? Like the first round opponent might also come out as a surprise.
I mean, I'm happy to see f5 if I'm white, because I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to have to invent a way to get some play this game. I can just play chess, and my opponent is going to make it a 3-result game.
Yeah, got it. again, it's all about the practicality of this matchup, right?
Definitely.
Okay, I guess we'll move to board 3 next. Wait, there's some issue.
Well, we got. Let's do Jordan Tim's game because he's in the chat and it's totally complete. So.
Oh. Okay.
Oh,
Okay, fine.
he played. He said he played like. He said in the chat I played like a grandmaster. So okay, he won a miniature against a much lower rated player.
So basically,
Joe Bava. So and this is his signature. So.
Okay, this is French now. It's like e4, e6, d4, d5, and then knight c3. It's basically French, and that too. What do we call it? We call it the Rubinstein, right?
Yep.
And okay, I now understand what happened in this match. Yeah, captures, knight f3, and then white would have played bishop d3, and then black fell for bishop g5 queen trap. That's already sad.
Yep.
So yeah, basically white played with 100% accuracy. So I guess Jordan can say that he played like grandmaster.
No, he not only played like a grandmaster, he played like Stockfish. So good job.
Yeah, true.
Can't
exactly.
Can't say too many games are played as good as the Silicon Beast, but sometimes that can happen if it's only 8 moves long. And I'm sure will never fall for this trap again. So tragedy for round 1, but you're probably not going to upset such a strong player anyways. So, at least you got your learning out of the way against someone you're probably going to lose against anyways, instead of, blundering this against an equal rated opponent in the last round of the tournament.
True. That's right. Always a point to learn. Yeah, let's move to board 3.
I can make one point on this. I think this does go to show why the Rubinstein's not so respected. There's two. Black players like to play it because it solves 2 French systems for them, right? It solves knight c3 and knight d2. So either one, they can take the pawn and transpose to Rubinstein. So they're like, okay, great, I can do 2 birds with 1 stone. But they waste time. So when they take pawn takes pawn, they just spent a tempo on that, and white gets to recapture with free tempo, because when you recapture, you're just recapturing. So you're not. So he basically got to move his knight to e4 for free, and so you're getting ahead in development. White's already ahead in development, so it's like, kind of, what are you doing as black? You're already a tempo behind, and you're getting even farther behind in development. Of course, disasters can strike.
Just the way it happened in the game.
So instead of playing pawn takes pawn, you need to spend that move developing a piece, because that's how you maintain or try to maintain development parity. So, and I would never want to main anything that I'm falling behind in development, and as black, So it's just too much contempt.
Yeah, I get it. You are more of I would say, a player who goes by the book, right? That is what I have learned in the past 2 years.
One of the few out there. Everyone wants to be a rule breaker.
And you are someone who would want to follow the rules.
Yeah, I'm a rule.
The best way that you can.
I'm a rule follower. So.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I know that much. Okay, I see that we have some interesting position here. The match with Torpy versus Leonard.
Speaking of this, Torpy used to play f4 every game. Let's see if he plays f1, f4.
Yes, you're
Yep.
absolutely correct.
And he's beaten some very strong players with this, and I played him in a rapid game at the club, just casual for fun, and he beat me. So I can't despite not really respecting the bird in general, I feel like he's studied it a lot.
Oh, that's good. Like, obviously, if someone has studied any particular opening in a good way or in a particular manner, then okay, you cannot underestimate them, especially when they only play one single variation.
Yeah, and the way I handle this is I try to go be as principled as possible, play d5 and go reverse Dutch. Say, sure, you want to give me an opening where I get the white pieces as black, I guess I'll do that. But
Okay,
it's
makes
not
sense.
not necessarily the best way, but yeah, and you can see it with my points earlier on club players, right? You're going to see b4, you're going to see f4. You don't see any of these in your blitz games because people have graduated past that from getting beat up by strong opponents, but at club level this stuff doesn't get punished nearly as hard, so people are a lot more willing to get that stuff on the board.
True. And we have, okay, d6, e3, c5. Okay, so kind of a funny structure. Knight c6, e6. And yeah, actually, people have found few typical ways to play as black against one f4. That is also one thing I've observed in recent times. One key principle that everyone understands is that, okay, if you're playing one f4, you're playing for this square, if I'll just keep my pawn on d6, what are your next plans? And white's like, okay, now they have to play normal principle chess, nothing very trappy or no cute ideas possible. So it's like, I don't know, or I don't think so if this setup from black is very popular or anything that could be studied. But even if you just use your logic on the board and keep a setup like this, I don't think it would backfire. And that is what black is doing. Especially if, let's say, few people already know that Tofi always plays one f4, then you would be like, okay, let me play something out of the book that would be playable, and let's just play normal chess.
Yeah, I got a feeling that Leonard is pretty happy here because, to my knowledge, he plays King's Indian attack as white, and he plays like d3 g3, and he plays passive a lot. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think that's how he plays, right? So, not saying that this is the same as King's Indian attack, right? But it's kind of the same type of thing where, you know, white is playing a passive setup opening type of thing and just allowing black to do whatever. And he's probably played a million blitz games as white where black has actually sometimes outplayed him, right? And come up with very different strategies and stuff. So he's probably extremely experienced in how to, you know how to beat yourself if you got a certain type of strategy. So he's probably got an arsenal.
I get it.
He's probably got an arsenal of strategies that people have used to beat him when he plays passive. So it's probably not. I imagine he's gonna be happy with the situation as black.
True, true. That's right. Okay, so bishop b5, bishop d7, short castles, a6 happened. Okay, I like that bishop on c6. Bishop e7, knight bd2. Actually, I would want to see e4 on board, but maybe white is just gathering pieces first. I hope that is what white is doing, but okay, let's see. Knight e4 happened. f6, okay. I will not say a bad decision, but an interesting move for sure, because you are damaging your own e7 bishop completely, but at the same time that b2 bishop is restricted. there won't be any tactics on G7 or uh, any sort of pressure couldn't be maintained on that particular pawn. So, okay.
And you're also controlling G5.
Yeah.
We got two knights that could jump there, right? So I kind of like it, right? Especially, yeah, for a second there I was thinking Torpy was black, but no. So, but yeah, I mean, look, this extremely strong player played it too, so it can't be that. But yeah, I was thinking,
Yeah.
I was originally thinking of it from reducing the tactical potential of my strong opponent, but you know, I don't think that's the case here.
Okay, got it. And yeah, actually, even I kind of like that F6 move. The way you feel is exactly the way I'm thinking as well. And I also like this A5 move. This is actually a very typical idea. Like, if you have a pawn on C5, I'll just tell you, like, this exact idea is used with knight F3 ready system. Black a couple of times used it. Actually, I have also faced reti from black side, not particularly on F4, but the same idea is being used here. Once you play A5, you are provoking white to either commit with A4, and sometimes this pawn is not on C5. Let's assume this pawn is on C7. So what they do is they play A3, so that A4 could be met by B4. And once A3 is cleared, black then plays C5, because they are saying now I'm again playing A4 and you cannot play B4. In this case, there is already a pawn on C5 and white wants to get in A4. If you'll play A3, A4 comes in anyways. And if you'll play A4, B4 is a permanent weakness. And the plus point is they always have that B5 pawn break if they want to open up the position. So it's like black is kind of dictating the game on the queen side at least. And I really like this move. And A3 was played, and see, as I told you. So if you will play A3, A4 comes in anyways, and you would be damaging your structure. And if you would have played A4, then that particular square on B4 is weak. Okay, C4 was played. Oh, this is interesting actually.
Yeah, no, I like, because I was thinking try to get C4 B5 in, and remember Torpy also had some really interesting game where he did a positional pawn sacrifice just to get pawns rolling on the queen side from the black pieces.
Oh my god, yes, I remember that completely.
So he might be kind of, you know, he's kind of advanced. He's like big brain when it comes to
pawn breaks at least.
Pawn structure stuff. So.
Yes, true. I became a big fan of that particular match. I never forget it. I remember that was the stream when I was doing it with OK, right?
Yeah, I know you were commentating. That's why I knew you'd remember that.
Yes, I absolutely remember that one. Knight C7, E4, and yes, as you said, he did not play B4. He's like, you can take that pawn, I'll just get my pawns rolling, I'll ruin your structure. Queen C3, B5.
Dude, and I love playing this way against a stronger player too. Yeah, you should always play the position, not the player, right? That is a thing, but you know, you're not going to beat them with the clear variations that everyone calculates because they're super forcing. You know, you're going to beat them with something they didn't see. So I like trying to play moves like E4 that aren't as forecast if you can make it happen.
True. This guy just finds it on the board and plays it anyways. Queen D7, Rook F2 would be it, but
so
I kind of feel black is outplaying white completely.
Yeah.
At least till this point. So Queen C3 happened, Bishop A4. I like this move as well. E3 is weak.
Instead of Rook F2, it doesn't do anything really, I don't think. But what about Knight F5? Because you're trying to.
You mean in this particular position.
Yeah, just for
record, let's say
just
knight
because
f5 would have
just because
happened.
I like a knight on f5 in the pawn spin, so you know, I don't think there's anything here, but it just looks like something I want to look at.
Yeah, but just to remind you, I understand why do you like the knight on f5. We are one e4 players. We always like the knight on f5. But okay, the structure is completely different, so I'm not so
And
sure.
and I've got knight takes bishop check, right? So it makes me not as nervous that I'm blundering my piece instantly. But
That makes sense as well. Okay, I think black is not afraid to give up this bishop, right? It's anyways
yeah,
passive.
it's just a bad bishop anyways. So just
Yeah,
move
I
your
guess
rook
they'll just play
anyways.
rook b8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not really getting anything with knight takes bishop anyways. So it makes
True.
sense. But you know, I like that I've got at least a little bit of play against FIDE Master, right? With queen on an active diagonal and a little bit of pressure against his king, not much, but
Basically, it is like that, okay, at least I'm making some threads. Maybe there's some progress.
yeah, exactly. I'm not just getting like squished here. So I like how he's playing, even if it doesn't seem like it's gonna work out for him as well as we might hope.
True. Okay, so yeah, rook f2 was played, queen c3, and okay, d4,
Yeah, now these rooks
rook
are
b8.
beastly. Look at the difference in quality in rooks. It's like this is gonna be not
Actually,
good.
difference in almost everything, right? Like, I don't like these knights. They're not going anywhere. These knights are completely restricted. This bishop is restricted by its own pawn. All of the pieces are passive. Black is actually, as I said, black is completely outplaying white here. Knight b5 happened. c4 happened. They're threatening c3. And see, suddenly their bishop is also not bad anymore.
Yeah, there's improving each piece one by one systematically until. So the squish is starting to happen now, right? But you know, he at least made some interesting pawn breaks before the squish
Yes,
started,
that's
right?
true.
It wasn't just a squish beginning to end, you know. But yeah, this is how strong players play, right? They look at all their pieces. What's the worst piece I have? How do I improve it? So Leonard was looking at his bishop e7. How do I improve my bishop? And they
Got
systematically
in d4, got in d5. Yeah.
they improve each piece until their maximum, and then the next stage too, what they do is they think about the net piece activity of the whole position. So then they not only want to maximize the potential of all their own pieces, they want to minimize the potential of all the opponent's pieces, or figure out what's the best net balance where I might have one bad piece but my opponent has two bad pieces, something like that.
Makes sense. Also, I feel Turkey blundered with knight c1, right? I think c3 is coming in. And they're just losing a piece. And yeah, that is exactly what happened. So this was pretty unfortunate after all those great ideas. And okay, he's still thinking, but I guess it's all over already. I don't see any counter threats or actually anything at all. I feel it's game over for this one.
Yeah, I think interesting game by Torphy, but kind of a masterclass by Leonard on how to just refute it.
Yeah, true. Actually, Black, it feels like Black actually played a really good game. Mistakes are out of question, and I feel Black, or I'll just take the name. It's like Leonard just exploited those small advantages beautifully, almost perfectly.
Yeah, and I don't think it was the opening's fault, so I'm not going to blame the bird in this one. But
Yeah, same goes for me. I have the same exact perspective. I don't think it's the fault of the opening or anything, because after the opening, it was a normal position, normal structure. I just feel for me, the turning point was not playing b4 there and being over ambitious with e4. Like, this wasn't needed because you didn't get white didn't get anything on the king side, whereas black actually expanded completely on the other side of the board. They played b5, got their bishop, got their rooks, and yes, it was over soon after this. So if
Yeah,
white
I
would
think
have just
you know, this is making me realize, you know, I need to actually look at more of Leonard's games because I think he's a player after my own heart. You know, I feel like there's almost no players in Minnesota that play this ultra principled, solid chess. You know, and it seems like Leonard is one that actually does.
yeah, so basically it suits your style as well. Actually, you can follow his games.
Yeah, I gotta emulate Leonard's style.
Yeah, as for this game, I feel if white would have just played b4, I don't think there's any problems. One move that I would look for from black side is b5, because as black, I would not want my opponent to get in some b5 stuff, completely block my bishop, block my knight. I would try to open up the position. I don't know if this is working or not, but this actually looks interesting. Maybe these kind of moves
Yeah,
might be the reason.
I see these pawn cubes and like my brain just shuts off. Like that's too much to calculate.
Basically, you just need to calculate one move at a time. It isn't like too complicated. And just calculate the most direct variations first. That is how you do it. Let's say if b takes c5, if you're calculating dc5, just look at dc5 first, not bc4. Keep it direct, keep it simple. Once the simple variations are over, just look for other options. If you would keep it wired in your brain, then yes, I understand what you're saying. I've gone through the same exact situations before. So yeah, but okay, still I would say e4 was out of question. You need to do something else. Otherwise, again, just don't play a3 if you feel all of this is not working. But I don't think that's the case. Just play b4 here. There's no need to get over ambitious with e4. You can play e4 later on as well. That's the point. If you want to get in that move, you can get in even after playing b4. Otherwise, it's still not working in here as well, right?
Yeah, if you think
But
about
yeah,
it, a game.
I always enjoy his games.
Yeah, me too. And a game like this makes me appreciate chess in general and how we get to play with pawns, because, you know, there's so much strategic nuance that comes with pawn structure that makes chess a lot more interesting than in just if it was a slugfest of all tactics all the time.
It's true, absolutely. I completely agree. That is why I always say like, okay, um, this guy entertains me a lot, or let's say everyone in general. That is what I feel.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah, because he plays the interesting positional pawn sacrifices, and that's always a cool way to play chess.
Absolutely, absolutely. And all right,
Oh,
I see.
ooh, okay,
Okay,
again.
game is already done. One
Okay,
of my
again,
favorite
upset
people from
here.
our club.
But it says 1-0, but it shows he's. What's going on here?
I guess the result is twisted, right? It's like black is already winning here. It's not
Yeah,
winning. It's like it's
okay.
over.
Yeah, I'm staring too much at the green and red and not enough at the position, because yeah, I was like, this looks pretty good for black, and he's the stronger player. So, but yeah, maybe DGT error. Let's see what happened.
Yeah, 3 pawns up, getting an exchange back. So it's like black is an exchange down, but okay, they are getting this back. And we will not take this because e4 is coming in. I would surely want to see what happened in this one.
Yep, French main. Oh, 2-3. Okay, it's actually, I've heard this is poisonous, because you can get big kingside attacks.
Yeah, true. That is right. Okay, let's see. d5, knight d2, knight f6, g3 happened.
Yeah, this is congruent with the system. Although I'm not sure about knight f3. But
No, I guess it's fine, right?
yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about it, but I would. Knight e2 is a little more intuitive to me, but I have no idea about what's going on here.
Basically, what you want is you play knight f3, short castles, king h1, knight h4, and that is how you get an f4. Your knight on h4 is a better attacking piece than if I would just compare it with e2. The only thing is that you would get an f4 earlier, but you would need pieces to support that pawn and that certain attack, right? So according to that logic, maybe that knight on h4 is a better piece to support all that attack on the king side that you will be generating. So I think this is logical. Captures, short castles, e5. Again, normal principle chess. Get your pieces in.
Yeah, but
Don't
I
allow
love
b4, b5.
I love getting moves like e5 in as black. I'm like, oh, thank you very much. I'm not gonna have to worry about bishop c8 this game.
Yeah,
So-
true. The only thing that black needs to worry about is the squares on f5, d5. If your opponent is unable to, let's say, get some play out of those squares or gain some counter activity, I feel black is completely fine.
And also, I think white players really should not underestimate trying to kill bishop c8, especially against a French player, right? It's called the French bishop for a reason. Because, yeah, I think about playing in simuls or playing way up against, yeah, usually an online simul or just a simul playing against a grandmaster, and they always beat me in the same way. They just make my bishop c8 terrible, and I lose.
Got it.
I don't know. I'm not even a French player. I'm a Sicilian player, you know. So they still somehow, you know, just space crush me, and that bishop is always a problem.
Actually, that's a problem with most of the players, especially against 1d4, d5. But okay, against 1e4, it's rare, but yeah, it happens. It happens quite frequently. So I understand whatever you're saying. Okay, queen e2 happened. b6. Again, one of the typical ideas to get your bishop via a6. Oh, this is what black actually wants. Like, if you play c4, black is actually happy. So knight is not on c3, so that they have to worry about knight d5 stuff. It's misplaced, and you yourself gave themselves this weak d4 square.
I instantly saw d4 and was like, that's... Black's not going to be unhappy about that, especially with knight on c6 already.
Yeah, true. d8 happened, b3 would be 6. Actually, I really like how it's playing.
This is kind of, it's reminiscent of Leonard Johnson's game, right? Like, they're both just like playing ultra principled improvements and like doubling their rooks. And then as soon as they finish doubling their rooks, white's position is going to collapse because their pieces are awkward.
Yeah, true. See? I just love how he's playing. Like, simple, principled chess and nothing fancy. White is going to crumble soon. Knight f3 back, bishop b7, the bishop's job is done.
You're playing a move like knight f3 back, yeah. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but, you know, it's already like a psychological blow. Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, true. Actually, what I feel is, in this particular position, white must be feeling that, okay, what should I do?
Well,
and,
I think about knight f1. Just let's try to liquidate some of this pressure.
yeah, the issue is that I feel they'll just exchange twice and then take this pawn on e4 with this being hanging. That is the first thing that I saw.
Yep. This is my, you know, I'm not an active player, so I'm just terrible with simple tactics, but...
Like, I'm not completely sure if that's the reason, but that is one thing that I saw at first glance, and I feel that is working. So it's like knight f1, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, queen takes, knight e4. Is there knight e5? Oh no, there isn't. Okay, I'll just show this variation which I just calculated quickly. So if knight f1 would have been played, then captures, 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 knight e4. I saw this, and if you'll take here, thinking that their queen is hanging, but this is coming with a check. So apparently all of this knight e5 ideas are not working. You just lost a pawn, f2 is hanging as well. There isn't a good way to defend that as well. So I guess
Yeah,
black would be 2 pawns up at least, and it's
It-
over.
it won't work at all here because of this giant amount of pressure on f2, and knight e4 becomes such a beastly piece. But in general, though, if I could, and say this position was a little more placid, I guess, I would potentially sacrifice a pawn just to liquidate all that pressure that's building.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and just try to play a pawn down endgame. If the pawn down endgame was reasonable, this one is not. But
Actually, what you're saying is correct. I just now saw something like this working. Double attack on both the knights.
that's like Rui Lopez tactic.
Yeah, right, exactly. And because if you'll take here, what I'm thinking about is I'll anyways take this. Okay, no, this is. Wait, again, queen 8 is also coming in. I was thinking about knight e3 takes bishop.
Yeah, wait, I mean, wait, oh god, bishop on a6.
I don't think there's any great discovered check, right?
Could you
Okay,
take
so now
bishop?
I'm
Can you play bishop takes check though?
Yeah, we can, but now what? After king h2 again, both the knights are under attack. Is there any way I can defend both? I don't think so. Is there any tactical way to create something? Again, I don't see any solution.
Interesting.
Wow, so that's amazing.
Knight c6 is a tactical target. It's good to keep in mind.
Yes, as everyone says, it's like loose pieces drop off. So knight on e4, knight on c6, bishop on a6, everything is loose and everything is backfiring. So now I'm getting curious, like, is knight f1 a mistake? Is it really a mistake? Because if I'm not getting anything with a straightforward variation, I think knight f1 is the move that should be played, as you suggested. Yep, I don't see anything. I don't see anything direct. Oh, is this possible directly? Knight takes e4, rook takes d6. If knight takes d6, then knight takes e5. So let's say captures, you cannot take here, d1 is hanging, this is forced, this would come in, this is next. Now again, I see this as a loose piece. I would think about knight d4 here.
Well, what about, I mean, the queen's hanging, can you play f6?
Yeah, but this is also hanging, right? Then a knight on c6 with the bishop. So like if you would play f6, then at least white has bishop takes c6.
Makes sense.
So f6 doesn't help us. So I was thinking about this. Actually, all of this seems very shaky to me. Like, okay, knight d4 makes sense because you cannot move your queen anywhere carelessly. But the question is, where would you move your queen? You cannot play queen e3 or queen e1 because of knight c2. You cannot play moves like queen d3 or queen d2 because you're going to lose this knight. As soon as I feel this is it, I just start seeing variations from the other side. Queen h5 is met by g6. So maybe captures, rook e1. If you'll go bishop c3, we have knight c6.
Wait, well, what about knight c? Oh yeah, never mind. Hang my queen.
So rook e8 makes sense here. Again, knight c6 is not possible. e2 is hanging. And I'm threatening to take this knight. And there is no f4. You cannot support it any further. Okay, now I finally feel that we found the refutation.
What
to knight
about?
f1.
I think it clearly doesn't work. But what about bishop c6? Queen takes knight. Bishop takes rook. X-ray. You still got a knight. Still got a knight defending it, I guess.
So queen takes, bishop takes. Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. We are still seeing moves here. It's too much tactical. Wow. I just feel
those pesky
there's a big
tactics.
possibility both the guys miss some variations. I don't somehow I feel that way.
Yeah, I would like chess a lot better if I was good at all these tactics.
Oh my god. Okay, that's amazing. Captures. Yeah.
I'm good at finding candidate moves, but I'm not very good at calculating variations, unfortunately.
Okay, it's fine. It's all good. That makes us a good duo, I would say. I would calculate everything. You just give me moves.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh my god. Okay, again, I'm just clueless. Knight f1 feels wrong, but I don't see any direct refutation. I feel that there's a possibility there would be something easy, but yeah, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it at all. And yes, there isn't anything direct. I think knight f1 should have been played. You're absolutely correct. Like, it's shocking, but yes, you are. Whatever you said, whatever variations or ideas, that is what had to be played. Knight f1 had to be played. But all right, knight h4 happened. Let's look at what happened in the game after that. Though I don't have any questions from Black's side of play. Okay, played a fabulous game, at least till here. Rook d3, spot on. Rook g3, so knight e1 was just a blunder. Punishing white completely. b4 is like kind of hopeless, I would say. Like, they were frustrated at this game of a pawn. That is what I feel right now. Rook g5. Rook takes, bishop d6, bishop c1, rook g2. Yeah, makes sense. It all looks good. So it's like you have 3 pawns and a piece against a rook. So yeah, too much material, and especially the material is out of question when your king is like that. Wow, amazing. I would say a fabulous game from OK.
This tournament right now is kind of, making my comment from earlier seem totally wrong, where lower players are good now and they never just drop a piece, right? So all these games from the higher players so far are kind of going the way that they would when I was a kid, which would be like, like Jordan's opponent dropping his queen on move 7. We're seeing people just get positionally piled up on and then blundering, right? These are the ways the Masters want their first round of games to go, and it doesn't always happen this way. But it looks like, the lower players are giving the higher players a kind of easy time so far.
Yeah, true. You're right. And okay, let's move to next games. What do we have here? I remember this guy as well. Could you just give a brief about Drew here?
Yeah, I'm not as super familiar with Drew, but this has got to
Uh-huh.
be closer to an even match. I mean, I feel like I've seen his name, and he's probably got to be up close to expert, or I don't know. I don't think this is, especially given the position on the board against such a strong opponent. I don't think he's like way lower rated. This is probably like, if I had to guess, he's probably like a couple hundred points higher, but I'm not sure.
Okay, let's see what happened from move number 1. Let's quickly go through the opening. So d4, knight f6, knight f3, d5. Okay, simple symmetrical structure, and we have some cattle in here. Bishop g2, knight c6. Yes, this is the most popular way nowadays. Almost everyone's opting for this typical knight c6 structure. If
Yeah,
I'm not wrong, when I checked it the last time, the engine actually evaluates it as close to equal, surprisingly. Generally, we don't keep our knight on c6 until we have moved that c pawn, right? Either we keep it on c6, getting b5, or we push c5 and then we get our knight to c6 so that we have more space, but this actually works.
yeah. One interesting note on the Catalan is it's one of my most like respected openings, where especially from the solid positional play type of perspective, I think I should probably actually be a Catalan player, but I just invested way too much effort in e4 already to switch. So it's it's one of those sunk costs for me. But I do feel like if you're an ultra positional, solid, like to follow the rules player, like there's nothing better than the Catalan.
Got it. And see, you have my respect. You are a 1e4 player. I'm not sure if that would have been the case if we would be playing 1d4. So, yeah, rook b8 happened. A4 and bishop b4. If I'm not wrong, generally people tend to play a6 and b6 here. B6 is something that I saw when I checked it last time. The principal idea is that you just want to keep your knight on a5 and it's guarded by the pawn. You're getting bishop b7, maybe bishop a6 in some cases. And that is how you play a6. The simple idea is that you just want to support the pawn with d5. So, okay, bishop b4 is something different.
I don't know anything about this because kind of earlier when I made the comment here on the Rubinstein why I don't like it, I don't like Queen's Gambit accepted for the same reason. I basically feel like I'm falling behind in development. So my principle on playing d takes c4 is I only play it if I know it's good for black. So if I know playing d takes c4 is going to lead to like minus 0.2 or something, I'll do it. But if I'm just going to have to play some plus 0.4 mainline Queen's Gambit accepted position, it's, even though it's totally sound, it's just not what I'm interested in, because I'm conceding center and potentially falling behind in development, making another pawn move.
So actually you can consider looking at this knight c6 variation. As far as I remember, it's engine approved, if I'm not wrong. It's like close to equal and you are getting that pawn on c4. So if you wish, you can actually look at this variation yourself as well.
Nice. I go
okay,
bishop.
I'm not any d4 expert, so yeah, can't comment much.
Yeah, I play bishop b4 check and then bishop b7, that closed system with b6 and c6.
Got it.
The main reason I do that is because I've talked to a lot of Catalan mains, and it annoys them the most. So I figured, gotta play the thing that Catalan players complain about the most.
Makes sense. Makes sense. You're playing psychological game in the opening itself. So yeah, bishop d2 happened, queen e7, and I think we are already out of the opening world. Knight f5, captures, knight e2. c5. Yes, that is something that is played very commonly. Okay, the first thing that struck me, I don't know why, but it was b4 because cb3 is not possible basically. But yeah.
Yeah, only if I wasn't hanging.
Yeah, exactly. Only if that wasn't hanging and only if this wasn't hanging. So knight c4, knight c4. Oh, this should be equal already.
Yeah.
Rook d8. Oh my god, everything got exchanged. Rook d7. Yeah, but okay, I don't have any favorites in this one for sure. Captures, captures, and yes, this was the position that we got last time. And actually, I was calculating this move here. My simple idea is a6 is met by knight b8 check. And the other variation which I saw was, I'll just tell you quickly. So if you'll play king c7 and if you'll rush with king b6, I have this and I have this. So basically I'm winning a pawn here if you just rush with few things. This is something which I calculated as soon as we started discussing about this game, that knight c6, and then if we'll go a6, we have this check, we have this check, captures, captures, king b6, king here, and I guess this should be equal, right? And maybe black has a better way to continue as well, like here, maybe we have this. Okay, this actually leads to the same exact position. So captures, captures, king e3, here, here, and here.
Yeah, you think you're getting the outside pass pawn, but not quite enough time.
Yeah, true, exactly. Not in time, so.
So maybe she saw that, and that's why they play knight c6.
Yeah, but then white also needs to be careful, right? Like this is a bit overextended. King, you have to play knight c4 here. And you need to be careful. Because as white, you're not winning any pawns. You have to worry about your own pawn after king b6.
That makes sense.
Actually, king d4 is another prospect here. Because if king b6, knight c4 check, I'll just show you what I just thought. So here, knight d6 check, and you're winning that pawn.
Yeah, the a pawn looks super dangerous though. Aren't knights terrible? Aren't knights terrible at stopping outside pass pawns?
I completely agree, and I would not argue against it at all.
Yeah, plus look, you start with king b4 and you're already boxing the king out too, so it's just like, oh, this is getting dangerous. I don't think my knight's gonna get back.
You're right. So if I don't have any alternatives, I would definitely go for knight c4 and hope that I don't think any attack is coming towards this pawn. Like if I want to attack this pawn, what are my available squares? I am not getting my knight to c3. The other square is d6, but then the knights just get exchanged, and I feel we are moving towards a draw with this one.
Yep.
So yeah.
Well, this is
the live position that we have.
If you're gonna play ultra solid, you can't be too disappointed by draws now and then either, even against low rated. So.
That's true. That is true.
That's an area I feel like a lot of chess players could improve their psychology. Is like they'll do anything in their power to avoid draws, but it's like chess is a draw at the start of the game, so depends.
Yeah, and basically
works
if
for
your
some of
opponent
them.
is played well, you gotta respect him.
Sometimes players can just get, like you said, grind from stone or whatever, but also just endgames are tough, right? And actually, if you think about it, a lot of the strongest, what's one interesting thing to me is I feel like a lot of the strongest players, they spend all their time playing 3+0. So, I'm sure that makes them very good at tactics, but it's not necessarily helping you polish your slightly better technical endgames.
I again agree upon that. Because I am one of those guys who plays 3+0 regularly. Whereas I should be devoting my time to some, let's say, in-game or some other principal chess, or maybe studying some books, studying some ideas. Now, yes, I may be tactically aware, but one should be more focused on training other parts of the game.
Yeah, but then we also see all the people who spam tons of blitz who are extremely strong. So we know everything's trending faster and stuff. So there's no clear answers to anything, but I do feel like you can kind of think about the pool psychologically, right? And that strong players in general are up to a certain point, like say candidate master level, they're probably very good at tactics and not quite an all-star endgames yet, versus a player like Brian is clearly an endgame all-star because you have to fight at that nuanced level to get there.
Right. And okay, I guess we'll get back to this one. Let's move to the next one. There's some issue, I guess.
It's not coming up, huh?
Yes.
Try just refreshing the browser.
Yes, I'll do that. And yes, we have it here. So it is Nathan versus Timothy.
Yep, Tim is the president of the Minnesota State Chess Association.
Oh, that's amazing.
And he's 2150, I believe, ish. So he's going to be the high-rated player here.
Is this guy the same Nathan as usual?
No. I'm not familiar with Nathan Doman, but he's clearly probably paired up. So I'm guessing he's a club level player. And
right.
The usual Nathan's Nathan Hoover. He's a national master, and he's busy on weekends. He rarely plays weekend tournaments, so he just plays like Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Got it. Yeah, that's the guy. You're right. Because I remember some Nathan. Now, like, I'm kind of familiar with the names.
Yeah, he's out, and Nathan organizes Thursday nighters, so he literally plays in every Thursday nighter because he's the tournament director.
Got it. Now I'll remember.
And he plays in two games sometimes. So yeah, he's very memorable.
Whoa.
Because he'll play in that. If there's an odd number of players in the open section, he'll play in that section as well. So.
Wow. That's quite hard work, I would say. Yeah. Same as Dane, right?
Yeah. Dane is running the broadcast tonight. Yeah, thank you to Dane Zagar for coordinating the DGT boards while he's also playing the tournament. So it helps us make sure this broadcast can come to you guys. So make sure you thank Dane if you see him on site.
True. Working quite hard, I guess. D3, A6, short castles, bishop A7, bishop B3, okay. Pretty normal variations, that is how you play. Bishop E6, knight F1, 8-6, knight G3.
Yeah, and Tim's an interesting...
Actually, generally...
Tim's an interesting player because he plays two strategies with two colors. Rare compared to most. Like, I guess with black he plays ultra solid and the way I described that I like to play.
Yeah.
And with white he plays dubious gambits that he just goes all for all out sacrificial attacks every game. So.
Oh my god. Okay.
So that's an interesting.
That's quite a mix.
Interesting philosophy, but yeah, it makes sense. You know, the white pieces are. You can't try to do that with the black pieces. I mean, you can try, but you got to play the most dubious lines possible, and you know. Yeah, so I think it's an interesting strategy.
Yeah, that's interesting. Actually interesting. Like, okay, this is something I've heard for the first time. Also, like, as for this position, I am not a huge fan of exchanging this bishop as black. Like, I would want white to take it. Otherwise, I should be prepared about this again. If it's e4, e5, it's 50% about these two squares. f5 for white, f4 for black. And if I'm exchanging this right squared bishop, suddenly this f5 square gets weak. Like, I would want to jump in my knight and somehow make it work. But if my queen is on the other side of the board, I'm not sure how good would it be, but it wouldn't be bad for sure. Bishop e3 happened, captures. Now again, it's for both these sides. One who can actually control these things might dictate the game. Like, actually, I would prefer this one. I don't know. Like, I looked at knight f5, knight e7, and then get my other knight, get in rook g3. Am I getting anything out of this, or is it like...
It looks...
Is it nothing?
It looks dangerous. I also like knight f5 like, against h6, because you can't play g6. You know, play knight takes h6.
Yeah, true. That is how you guys think, right? Like, they are one equal players again. We are familiar with these kind of patterns. Like, well, I guess king h7 is...
And look, you're threatening to say you pass the move to white. You could play knight takes e7, queen takes knight g6, maybe.
Yes. No, it's like, for sure, like, if it's white's move again, then white is going to take it and play knight g6. That's why I think, is this pretty much forced or something? Like, yeah, I guess this is pretty much forced. And white can actually maintain the pressure with ideas with moves like rook h3. That is what I feel. Maybe I'll capture, then play knight f5, then play rook h3. I'll not allow you to play g6. That is how I would think in this position. Like, just a sample variation. Though as black, maybe black would play queen e6 there. Try to get rid of queens. But I think I would still anyways play rook h3. Because if you'll take, then this a6 pawn becomes weak. As white, I'm getting everything, right? I'm stopping you from playing g6. Maybe queen b3 is not a good move. I'll get in my queens next. Like, that is one way I would think. Though I still feel this attack with knight on f5 or knight on f4 rarely works if your opponent is being careful.
So here's a question. So play unlimited moves in a row for white right now. How would you like checkmate black?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I was going to say something similar. Like, the issue is exactly same as white. It's difficult to
actually, I see one. Get your queen to d2 and play rook takes h6 is one way.
Yeah, but the point is that black actually wants to just play knight g8 and g6 and get rid of that knight on f5. That is one simple typical idea that is used almost every time. Just get your knight to g8. As white, you just get your knight to g1 and then kick that knight on f4. If you're black, you just play knight g8, play g6, kick that knight, support this pawn, and then you can get your knight back. And that is one simple typical idea. Almost nothing is happening. So yeah, I guess that's not that great. So a4 happened, queen d7 captures. Oh, rook takes. That a6 looks weak, but maybe, yeah, you would just keep that pawn on a5 and it's not easy to exploit. But Again, if I'm white, I would just think where would I want my pieces to sit on. So I would be like one knight on c4, other one on e3, rook on a3, and maybe I should be winning. Like that would be my dream scenario, right? Like let's say knight e2, knight c4, this rook back, knight f1, knight e3, rook a2, rook a1. And I feel I should be strategically just outplaying black. And then as if I will be thinking about black side, I'm not sure about any direct plans.
Well, maybe.
As white, my first target would be to get my knight to c4.
See, my first intuition looking at the position was actually thinking black was having decent prospects because they're about to build this rook battery again that we've seen in the other games today that worked out so well for everyone else. But yeah, we see knight c4. Knight c4 is about to be a really annoying piece. So I feel like from black's perspective, I kind of want to just trade off knight c4, anticipating they coming there, and so I kind of want to move my queen, play queen knight d7, knight b6 somehow, or I don't know. I can't see another way to really challenge knight c4. So, and I don't really want to let that knight just sit there on that outpost protecting b2 and influencing the center the rest of the game.
True. Like if I am black, actually what I would be thinking is if knight d2 comes in, maybe I would have to create some counterplay. Maybe try to work with d5, create something there. That is something that I would think about. If they'll take, maybe take with the rook, get in rook d8, forget about the b file, maybe focus on this d3 pawn. So that the focus shifts from b file and the flanks towards the center. That is one way I would think. But okay, again, not so much sure. Okay, d4, not bad. But I would like to keep this solid. Because, as I told you, I want my knight to sit on c4. So, d4, maybe white has some other plans. Rook d8 makes sense. Rook e2. So, at the very least, black can always consider to play rook b2 here, right? ed4, okay. Knight d4, knight d4, cd4, c6. Okay, now I'm confused. What should be the evaluation of this position?
Well, what's the purpose of c6? I guess just to play queen b7 or something? I feel
Maybe
like
what white thought was, if it was white's move, maybe white would play d5 and c7 would become weak as well. That is one thought that could have crossed one's mind. Maybe they thought c6 is a kind of improving move. I don't know. I don't have any clear picture about that. Queen c3, rook b3, queen c1, rook b5, rook c2. I like how white is remaneuvering. Queen d2 makes sense. Rook a2, f3. Okay, I'm kind of slightly worried about this open diagonal. Rook a6 happened, knight e8, and this is the present position that we have on board. I don't know who I'm favoring in this one. I feel white is more flexible. White has great center, great good knight on f5. At least till now, white is controlling all of the weaknesses. That is mainly b2.
look at the clocks too. Tim's down to 2 minutes.
Oh yes, exactly. So yes, white would be preferred here, I think.
Yeah,
In this particular position.
You got the beastly center plus that knight on f5 we always like, but you're almost out of attacking pieces, but still. Yeah, queen f4 looks like, okay, you could pressure g6 and potentially slide to g4 or g3.
Yeah, maybe getting something like h4, queen f4, so that at least this king has some extra space just in case. I feel white is much more flexible, right? Like white can even play some slow moves and it would be fine. White does not have to worry about anything, especially as you mentioned, whenever this pawn is on f6, you cannot even kick this knight. They cannot even think about playing g6 at almost any point. b2 is well guarded, d4 is well guarded, and looks good. All right.
Yes, I think this game is kind of, to me, it's a positional lesson in do not combine h6 with bishop takes b3, right?
Yeah,
that's a universal rule, but you're basically really softening f5 when you do that combination, versus if you played h6, that makes a lot of sense with allowing bishop takes e6, because when you play f takes, they're not going to have knight g5 and stuff like that. So you either kind of want e6, f takes e6 in tandem with h6, or else if you're going to play bishop takes b3, I mean, you're losing time whenever you do that anyways, so you probably shouldn't. But don't play h6 then, because you're gonna need to play g6 later to deal with the f5 square.
True. Whatever you said was completely right. Perfectly makes sense. And before leaving this game, I would just want to show one thing. Like, white might play something like queen c1 again, and there is this cheeky idea of rook takes c6. Rook takes, queen takes, knight e7 check, and then take on c6. Obviously, one would see through it, but yeah, it was just fun to show. So
Makes
that
sense.
is one thing that I.
Those knight on f5s, they're always ready.
Yeah, true. That's right. Okay, let's move to the last game, I guess. Reload it again. I feel I have some connectivity issues with my device. And yes, here we have it.
Yep, so here we've got, should be a competitive game, because although Josiah is definitely favored, so Josiah could definitely be a prospect to win the tournament. I mean, clearly the Grandmaster is a favorite, but Josiah has won a lot of Minnesota tournaments, and he even won, there's a whole circuit of tournaments that they all accumulate points for each placement in each tournament, and he won that whole circuit. So he's master, and he is not only master, but a very successful weekend tournament player. And Jacob Pikus is more up-and-coming teenager, continuously improving, and around 1900 now.
Oh, that's amazing.
And Jacob plays. He loves Benoni, and he likes, he's got some counterculture opening ideas that he plays all the time. He plays like c4 all the time too, and so he's marching to the beat of his own drum until he gets jaded and joins the rest of us with ultra mainstream openings.
Makes sense. And okay, as for this game, I feel white already has a very overwhelming position here. I'm like, there's so many ideas which white can use here. Just go queen h4, queen f6, rook h3, bishop d4, bishop h6. I'm like, white just needs to find the right order to play all these moves, and that would be it, I would say.
Rook 8 is not playing.
I'm like, just rook h3, queen h4, or maybe start with queen h4.
And the queen.
Getting something.
Queen c6 is noticeably. I feel like whenever someone's going to get a really successful attack, the opposing queen is stranded on the other side of the board and can't participate in the defense. So
I completely agree.
A lot of time that queen's on a5 or something, but c6 is good enough. I even remember a memorable game Magnus lost with his queen on b8. So, you can't get the queen, and that's also why even in the last one of the recent games we watched, right, with queen b3, it looks kind of nice, right? It's pressuring that diagonal a bit, but I kind of just see it as a step towards putting your queen offside, where you potentially could get mated in the future.
Oh, see b5 happening here. I would just want to go through the opening quickly.
let's see the
So
whole
we
game.
had Sicilian.
Okay.
It is the accelerated variation. Accelerated dragon with my Roxy. Okay, this is my old variation actually. This is how I used to play as white.
Oh.
I've
So
played this
Jacob,
a lot.
yeah, to my knowledge, this is old. This is out of style, and Jacob is playing the old main line that is now somewhat refuted. Probably not completely refuted, but masters aren't playing it anymore as black.
Yeah, kind of. Actually, you're right. Rook c3, queen 8. Okay, nobody takes that pawn. That is one thing that has been said over and over, because you are behind in development, you have got no space, and that particular pawn does not matter at all. And white is actually playing perfectly. That is how you do it. Go f4, go f5, get in your pieces, and just checkmate black. c5, I like that move. Queen 8, okay, wow. Oh,
Well,
okay.
with all my principled talk earlier, I'm sure you can imagine that I definitely play Moraxi by myself. So I'm a big fan of Josiah's choice here. Yeah, I play open Sicilian. I like to play the most positional open Sicilian possible. So I play Moraxi whenever possible. So you can actually play Moraxi against Hyper Accelerated Dragon. You can play it against Khan. And you can also play it against O'Kelly if they play early a6. So all those are green lights to Moraxi bind. And then I also play Rossalimo like we saw in the earlier game. If they play knight c6, I'll play bishop b5. So those are all in my opinion, those are all the ultra positional recommendations. Oh, and then I play bishop e2 and queen d3 against the knight arf, which is ultra positional. So it's like, let me play this traditionally sharp opening area, but let me just pick the most positional variations possible in all the sub variations.
Makes sense.
Moraxi, and Moraxi is probably my favorite of all of them, because it feels, as far as positional, right? Because it feels one-sided. Like white's always just getting their comfortable position, and black is kind of struggling to find counterplay. Versus like Rossalimo, white gets great positions, but black also is usually drumming up some sound counterplay, and they're not just kind of like struggling to break out.
Right. I get it. I get the ideas behind your opening choices at least.
But I think it's a legit strategy though. If you really want to be a Moraxi black main and just play Hyper Accelerated Dragon and study Moraxi bind black extremely well, and then practice your endgames a lot, right? Like, it can work. It's not like that bad, because Eugene Perelstein does that, for example, strong grandmaster. And I do think it's a better option than allowing the Yugoslav, right? Because that's kind of the choice you have. You either play d6 and you're allowing the Yugoslav attack, or you leave your pawn on d7 so you can threaten d5 in one move, but then you allow Moraxi. So that's the problem with with Dragon in general, is you kind of got to pick, am I going to allow Yugoslav and this blistering attack on the H file, or am I going to allow the Moraxi bind me and I'm going to have to kind of play this boring game where it's slow and plodding?
Right. Makes sense. Oh, I feel it should be some puzzle rush here. What if queen h4? I just know this is not possible because of this. It's over on spot. Check. Check. Maybe something like this. Then next bishop d4.
Wait, what about... I was thinking bishop
This is
h6 for a second, but rook g8. But I don't... But what about bishop h6 for g8, queen h5?
Here,
Yeah.
bishop h6. This is mate.
Yeah, see, not good. This is why I'm.
Okay,
You know,
to be
this is
honest,
this
I
is
didn't
why
see
this
it
is
either.
this is why I'm commentating instead of playing this weekend. So.
Okay, it's it's all good. I didn't see it either. It's like it's been 2 hours since we started commentating. It's absolutely fine to miss certain things. But okay, this is one way to finish. It's like if they'll go here, I was thinking about playing rook h3 anyways, or maybe take on e7 or something like that. Or let's say even if after ed6, yeah, instead of b5, I was thinking queen h4. Like, why would I want black to get their queen towards the king side? Just start with gathering your pieces. I don't know what's the exact best way, but again, knight h5 fails to this. And this is actually even more forcing because this pawn is already gone. I have bishop d4 check coming in. And if you'll be playing here, I don't know, some queen f6, then bishop d4 or bishop f6, g6 is hanging as well. Rook g3 might be coming in. It's like so overwhelming. But maybe Josiah looked at something else. Okay, c6. So basically playing on both sides of the board. That also makes complete sense. Rook h3, bishop d4, restricting that knight, rook c8, and this is the present position that we have on board. Also, maybe we should focus on Jacob's time. It's like less than a minute on clock.
Yeah, this is brutal.
Yeah, and I guess.
Oh, this is the type of position. I'd be pretty nervous as white myself, even though because the position you have forced wins, and I'd be nervous I'd miss my forced win. But
you would be nervous that you're not finding those wins.
Yes.
Yeah, everyone's actually been through that. So yeah, pretty much common.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. I feel that there is another thing that they might play c7 and bishop b5 or something like that. That is also possible. Just push it here and go ahead. Though obviously this king is so weak, I would want to checkmate them, not play or not gain any exchange on the board. This is not something that I want. Like I would want to finish them with something like queen h4, and I'm threatening queen h8. And I don't know what defense do they have here. If knight h5, maybe just simple queen g5 works. Idea rook takes. Should be game over. And okay, white's thinking here.
I'll be right back. I'm just going to use the restroom.
Yeah, sure. Meanwhile, let's go back to board number 2. And there is a lot of progress being made in this one. We last evaluated it somewhat not advantageous, but yeah, maybe slight edge for black. That was our human evaluation. In this particular position, and we left it here. It's like a couple of moves since then. Knight f4, knight e4, knight f1, g5. So okay, basically black just went all out. Knight d3, king h8 makes sense. f3, knight g3, exploiting those dark squares. f4, captures. So basically concentrating complete play on the king side. Knight e4 happened, queen d1, rook g8, knight e5, captures. Okay, that knight e4 looks really amazing. G4, another move that I like. And okay, I don't know if I would allow white to take on e4 or if I would take that knight myself. Basically, there are two ways to think in this one. If you'll take on e4, they'll take with the d pawn and black might get a knight b6, knight e5. The other thing to consider is you can take it yourself and then get a knight b6, knight c4. Getting your knight to e4 is next to impossible because, again, whenever you um, plan to get a knight on a certain square, you trace it backwards. So like if I want to get my knight on e4, I would see that what are the available squares from where I can get my knight to e4. So basically there's f6, d6, c5, all those squares are covered up. There's g5. All those squares are actually occupied by white pawns, so you cannot do that. So only choices between c4 and d5. Like if you will take, basically you want your knight to sit on c4. Otherwise, if you let your opponent take, you can get your knight to sit on d5, which actually looks great.
I'm back.
Yeah. All right. So basically, I was speaking about this particular knight on e4, and now black has to make a choice. Like there are two ways to continue. Either you take this knight yourself and get this d7 knight to c4 via b6, or you just allow white to take on e4, take with the d pawn, and then get your knight to d5 via b6 once again. So it's a choice between d5 and c4. Because I don't think you can maintain a knight on e4 anyhow. There's no way you can get this d7 knight on e4. All these squares from where you can actually access that e4 square are occupied by white pawns. And be it g5, f6, d6, c5, everything is pretty much covered. And actually, black is a really great position.
So just a random question. Just back it up one move. This is very contrived, but let's just pass the move to white, and white plays knight takes e4. What pawn are you going to recapture with, and why?
That is actually a really good question. I would just think about mostly d takes e5. That is coming in naturally to me. Reason being, if I'll take with the f pawn, there's always a possibility of that f5 pawn break, then getting a e6, and maybe this bishop gets activated. That is reason number one. Whereas if I'll take with the d pawn, this bishop still does not have any scope or any hope to get into the game. Point number two is, if I'm taking with the f pawn, I would want my knight to sit on f5, and I don't see a very easy route to get it to f5. Like it would be f8, g6, e7, f5, and it's a long journey. Whereas if I'll take with the d pawn, I want my knight to sit on d5. I can get it in two moves. I'll play knight b6. I'll get in knight d5. This is how I would be thinking in general.
Makes a lot of sense. I especially like your point on minimizing your opponent's pawn breaks. Yeah, I don't think enough about that, but that's really how you can oppress an opponent. If they have no pawn breaks, they have no play. So, and you always can just sit on the position and accept a draw if they have no pawn breaks. So you're kind of in a position of power when you're reducing their ability to make pawn breaks. And I feel like I've heard Hikaru talk about that so many times. Like, well, I've got no breaks, or I'm going to easily win this because I've got this pawn break you can't stop.
Right.
They can kind of already see without even needing to see the tactics yet if it's. Yeah, and then I also like your point on which square you're clearing a square in either case. So which square are you going to be able to use more effectively and quickly? And in that case would be d5.
Yes, for sure. Like, okay, obviously you cannot get your knight to f5 so easily. Getting your knight to d5 just requires two moves, and I don't think white can actually threaten something very serious or stop you from getting your knight to d5. That actually makes sense. So
Yeah, and
All
it's,
right.
one last point on it. It's also interesting to me because the answer is really kind of, it depends on the position more so than some sort of principled always play d takes or always play f takes,
Yeah,
because
definitely. It's not like that.
sometimes you want to use d5, sometimes you want to use f5. Probably usually you want to prevent the f5 break, but maybe if you want to use f5 yourself and you can see they're not going to get that in, you could think about playing f takes. So you got to just not think about it superficially, just like, oh, always this or that. It's more like, what else is going on in the position and what am I going to do with the squares that are left behind.
Yes, actually, I can give a very good example for that. For example, in this position, I would just ask you to visualize if your knight was on e7 instead of d7. After knight e4, I would sure shot play f takes in that particular position because I'm getting my knight to f5 on the very next move. That knight is jumping to h4, and white is still not getting any breaks. So I would have a beautiful knight on f5, rook g4, queen g7, no pawn breaks. His bishop is terrible, e3 is weak, g2 is a target. I would have some knight h4, knight f3 ideas. I'm combining all these three pieces for a great attack. So again, it depends on the position. If my knight would have been on e7, I would not even think twice. If they'll take, I'll take with the f1.
Yeah, and clearly taking is a positional mistake. I wasn't sure how I would recapture, so that was interesting to me.
Yeah. All right. Rook g3 happened, queen f1, captures. Okay, so what is black doing? Knight g6, knight h4, but I feel that's a bit slow, right? I can just play rook e2, or okay, rook c1 and then bishop e1 at some point. Okay, again, I'm not sure what is that knight doing on f8. At least if you're like completely clueless, you can get it to c4. That's the bare minimum that black can do here. Knight b6, knight c4, that's still available. Knight f8.
He wants to again bring it to the king's side, but
yeah, but it's not that easy.
But I can see his mindset. He's fixated on the attack.
Yeah, but moves like h5, anyone would guess it, right? Knight g6, bishop e1. Yes, as I said, you did not get anything at all. It's like our good knight actually got exchanged with that bad bishop. And white has to stay careful here. Black has to stay careful here. Is it already over with rook c8 and then queen c2, idea rook c7? I guess white is winning. Yes.
Allowing rook c8 seems rough. You can't allow major pieces to coordinate.
It's like queen c2 on next move and it's game over. There's no counterplay at all. At the very least, white is going to win both these pawns in a rook endgame and white is completely winning. Now this is disastrous for black. White just needs to play queen c2, yes, and that is what we see on board. And it's over.
Yeah, this also...
Oh my god.
This is reminding me...
Actually, one last trap is there for black. Black would play rook g4 here, hoping that white plays rook c7 and then black would have rook takes g2. That's playable. At least for this single move.
Yeah, it's
Get your rook to g4.
Cheap shot.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe white would play king f1, then queen h6, rook c7, rook g7. Maybe trying to fight, but again, I feel white is taking this one home.
Yeah, I feel like the ultimate cheap shot that works way more often than it should is you say it's queen endgame and you check their king, and then you check their king again, but you leave your queen hang to their queen. And
oh my god, no, that does not work on board.
And a lot of times they'll just instantly move their king. You can't hang your queen to their queen without checking their king. You need to and ideally you've checked their king a couple times before you do that, right? But it's the last ditch cheap shot if you're down.
Yeah, but I guess
you
that
can
only
material.
works in online chess, right? Not
Yes.
on the board.
Yes, of course. I don't think that would ever work over the board, and it'd be too disrespectful over the board.
Yeah, that is true. One should not do it. Just not do it.
Yeah.
And yes, we'll be coming back to this one. Let us check Leonard's game. Okay, yeah, this was already over. I guess the results are not here, but you can just see it was 0-1 here.
Yep.
And are we getting any update for this one? No, we're not getting any update here.
Too bad. That happens a lot. The DGT feed gets corrupted, and what can we do? If they don't move the pieces perfectly precisely, or if you drag a piece, to the square.
Yeah, I get it. I understand.
Yeah, they just move the pieces slightly wrong, and it gets corrupted, and then Dane's playing the tournament, so he doesn't notice it because he's busy. So.
Right. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I see there's a result on Josiah versus Jacob's board, and yes, as I said, it's devastating. Let's look at the position where we left it from. So it was c6, bishop d5, bishop d4. Queen f4 was played here. Oh, yeah, this is actually a good move. The idea is rook h8.
Love that. Yeah, knight g7's kind of awkward. It's almost like a back rank piece. It's like blocking.
Yeah,
it's like blocking the seventh from getting any defensive resources from his rooks or queens.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And just the idea of playing queen h6 against knight g7, I mean, they just have to play king g8 back is just like, oh, that's so annoying.
Yeah, this was mate, like king f7 is met by queen f6 mate. So yeah, Jacob resigned here, and we have got another result, and actually another expected result. Let me get it on board. It was Irene versus Drew, and the game was won.
Oh, thank goodness. I like I like if the games end how I feel like they kind of should. It always is a bit of a tragedy when somebody blunders away an equal end game. So I'm happy this one ended in a draw.
Yeah, right. Actually. Oh my god, okay.
And hey, good result for Drew, and hey, no harm for Irene. It's definitely not going to ruin your tournament or anything to get a draw. So you'll get your chance later in the tournament if you're doing well.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Actually, a draw isn't a bad result at all. Especially as for this game, no side should complain, right? It was kind of positionally equal from the start, especially from this particular position. Everything got exchanged, and I don't think any side should complain. Black was well prepared, also didn't give white any chance at all. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes a Catalan player might see a game like this and be like, oh man, I need to play more sharp so I can get winning chances against low-rated players, but you're forgetting all the games where you just got easy wins against low-rated players because they collapsed. So it's just you got to look at your aggregate results with an opening like this, and yeah, some low-rated players are just going to play really well, and it's solid, so it's probably going to be a draw, and overall, though, I think it's a really good opening choice. So
you're right. And there was Tim's game going on, and there's some feed. Okay, yeah. There's some good progress since we last left it. So it was this position with 98. White played rook c4. Not queen c1, which I suggested. It's not like I suggested, it's like just a cheeky trap which I showed everyone with rook c6. So rook c4 actually makes more sense. Much more principled move. Knight e3 is something I wouldn't play so quickly until I have a clear idea. I'm hoping white thought about it earlier, but yeah, now you can get back in with knight f5. So knight e1 was played. Knight
So,
c3 was
so
played.
that beautiful knight f5 did not end up being of consequence. He played too slowly, and he was able to. So we do see a way. You can actually unwind king h7, then g6. So you got to defend the pawn first, and then you can
Yeah, but
finally
it's
take
like
the knight.
white queen was on d2 earlier, so even
Yeah,
if king
exactly.
h7 g6 would have been dead,
So yeah,
it
it's
wasn't
almost like white.
working.
It's like white just like invited black to kick out his amazing piece when he could have just kept it perpetually there as long as he kept his queen on that diagonal.
Yeah, but actually I understood. It's like white did not understand what to do with that knight on f5. He just thought that if they'll get their knight to c3, they're winning this a4 pawn, maybe which they did, right? Yeah, they did win that pawn, but I don't know how good is this position because now this is a backward pawn. b3 is not coming in ever. This knight is not going anywhere,
Still though, he's the much
and
lower
both sides have
he
a minute on clock.
but he should pawn up is the much lower rated player is definitely not a bad position to be in. So
Definitely not.
impressive game by Nathan.
Yeah, that's true. Queen b4 happened, queen c2. And actually, practically, black should just simplify this. Just take this on b2. Queen takes, rook takes, knight c4, rook c4, and yeah, play h5 and it's draw.
And I mean, they're on board 12, so I don't even know Nathan's rating. This could be a fairly competitive match, right? It could be 1950 or something. So
It's not needed at all. But I understand. It's like, okay, wait, what's the big idea? Oh, is this fine? Like queen e1, knight. I guess black is winning now, right? Like queen e1, knight f1, rook b2, queen d3, queen f2, and queen g2 is mate. Yeah, that is what is happening on board. Rook b2 would come in next.
wow. Well,
Oh my god, black just turned this around.
And Tim, well, because Tim's a big attacking player, so he's going to see that every time.
Yeah, it's over. It's over.
Wow.
It's 0-1.
Well, brutal. You played a good game, Nathan, but always comes down to that last mistake. And Tim, great job finding your tactic.
Actually, a really good job. Playing 93 with a minute on clock. And he actually called for that. Like, I understand rook takes c4 is not forced, but that is something what you would see in less than 1 minute, because you would feel that black is actually setting up queen e1, taking your knight, but then you see you have knight f1. There is no queen f2. There is no queen e3. That is maybe the maximum which you would able to see, and then you would fall for rook b2, queen f2 ideas. That is what I feel. What white must have thought here. Otherwise, there is no way one is going to play rook takes there. I don't know if I'm also falling a trap with knight takes c4. I don't think so, right? Like this was quite possible. And it was again equal. Or maybe obviously white is slightly better, but yeah. Okay, so this is something like white is still playing this.
Yeah, well, can you just pick?
And actually white can play. What white is maybe hoping for is maybe these knights getting exchanged. Yeah, now it should be resigned. It's like white should resign here. That is respectful. You are losing your knight on f1.
Yeah, some players play out till the end. Actually, Connor does that. So
As for Connor, I only remember him for playing too fast.
I think if you're gonna do that, just at least play quickly. That's all good. Because also, if you think about it from a competitive perspective, if you get a reputation for doing that, you might pick up a point here and there from your opponent, thinking you're just going through the motions, but really they blunder. versus like when
Yeah.
if you rarely ever play out any other positions, then your opponents will be ultra careful still. They should be ultra careful in any case, right, with their winning position. But
Right.
if they know like, oh, Connor always plays till mate, they might think he's just going through the motions and they might blunder something.
True. True. That's right.
So I think you
And
do it respectfully, but it's still a good competitive strategy. So just like they say online, never resign, right? But
yeah, it's like few positions feel hopeless, but I would say we shouldn't resign early. But let's say if you're talking
yeah,
about some situations like this,
this one you can. I would
yeah,
resign here, of course. And hopefully, maybe even Connor would, but he might make him made him. We'll have to ask him
it's
tomorrow.
possible. And I guess we are almost done with every game because board number one, we did not get any moves in after a certain point. Board number two, it was David who won that. Board number three, it was Leonard's masterpiece. And Jordan just won in 7 moves, so I don't think we need to comment on that. It was like, okay, definitely he played like Starfish, so nobody can say anything. And okay, won beautifully. Like one of my favorite games from today. Actually, I just liked 2 games a lot. The masterpiece from Leonard, like completely outplaying positionally, and actually same goes for okay.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
would
really
pick these two
nice.
games as my favorite ones from today.
Nice to see him play so well. Get some good extra credibility since he commentates on the channel all the time. So he shows all those viewers he knows how to move the pieces too, not just talk like me.
Yeah. No, it's not like that. It's like everyone would want you to get back on board. So
Yeah,
at
that'll
least
happen.
okay told me that last time.
It'll happen someday. But yeah, I'm actually taking another chess break here soon. So I'm in chess fan mode for now, but I'll unretire, before I die.
Obviously, everyone should get a last chance to see you on board, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for me,
And okay,
the main reason is it's there's nothing to me more stressful than playing a game of tournament chess. So I could like lose my job and I'd be like less stressed out. So
oh my god, yeah.
I'm one of those players
like
who I just like care way too much. So it's like, yeah. And then you combine that with bad tactical vision, it's like, it's not great.
disastrous. I understand. I understand. I understand completely.
But the good thing is with the channel, I get to keep up with everyone's games as a viewer, so it's all good. Fine. That's the nice thing about chess is there's a lot of different ways to enjoy it. So you can follow pro tournaments, you can, just play online, you can play in weekend tournaments, you can study.
True. That's right. And okay, let's just see how this finished. So we left it at queen c2. Rook g4 was indeed played, and as I told you, like obviously white did not fell for it. White played king f1, king h6. Though I felt that queen h6 should have been the move because okay, rook c7 is met by rook g7, and maybe you can still fight. But
Sure.
king h6 is like waving white flag. You're just waiting for it to end. Queen e7, queen c8, and yes, definitely it's over now. Check here, rook e8, e6 falls, f5 falls, and yeah, we're in single resigned here. David taking this one home.
Yeah,
Good game.
I've thought about it once.
Pretty unfortunate.
I would actually love to get 2 types of positions against a way stronger player, like 400 points higher. One would be a major piece endgame like this with queens and rooks, just because it can get out of hand quickly with one move, and then another one would be pawn endgame, because a complicated pawn endgame of some type, because same reason, it's like they can make one mistake and then the game's over. So these positions are always just ones to be extremely careful in, because yeah, I just think about chess puzzles too. Think of how many different deflections, and there's just like a million different tactical motifs that can happen with queen rook versus queen rook, or some, and especially if you add in back rank issues, it's just like very, very high potential for somebody to miss something.
Yeah, that's right. That is always there, especially with any kind of game.
And then I don't want that against a way lower rated player, because I might miss one move and the game's over, versus I want something more in control, that I can improve my pieces to the maximum while making his look stupid, and eventually a tactic will just appear, like say Leonard Johnson's game.
Oh yeah, right. That's true. But as for today's game, like I'm really impressed. He took all the principal decisions and just.
Yeah, David Schaber looks to be another principal player. So yeah, these principal players are all these weekend players. These Thursday night players are the ones throwing out these crazy openings.
As for today, I felt that okay, there were some straightforward openings. Otherwise, I would always see these unconventional ideas here and there, and like it all messes with my brain each and every time. I need to look at the board so carefully that I'm not missing anything, any tactical idea, any trap here or there. But okay, that was not the case today. And I feel we are done with every match.
Perfect.
For today.
Well, I think we can wind things down then.
Yes, for sure.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on, commentating on all the games. We're going to have Ojasva on Thursdays more often now, so he just graduated from college. Congratulations on that. And
thank you so much. And actually, I've started loving to commentate on games for you guys, because okay, now I'm getting familiar with few players. I'm already familiar with some playing styles, and you, okay, Connor, even Michael. I guess I've already commented with everyone of you, and it always feels good. Like always have a good time there.
Well, perfect. Well, we're glad to have you, and we're going to be having you on more often. So thanks again. Tomorrow we'll have commentary starting at noon with Nubair and Connor. So tune back in tomorrow, and we will get some coverage of Sunday's games and maybe do some recaps of Saturday games as well. So good luck to everyone in the tournament. I hope you guys are having a good time. Make sure to say hi to the GM before he leaves. I hope everyone had a good time at the training camp as well last night, or the lecture and blitz session he put on. And yeah, thanks again. Bye, everyone.